This week on the Push Pull Legs podcast, we talk HRV, processed foods, and main lift nonsense. Three, two, one. Dan, I'm Scorpio, so I can squat today, right?
Hey guys, welcome to the Push Pull Legs podcast with myself, Damik.
And me, Tom Hall.
I got that a little bit too late, and then I was like, I get it now. Like, I was so confused for a second there, but I got it. I got it in the end. We're all good. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, wonderful. Apart from on a different level to you, but I've also had
three. Mate, yeah.
I've had 3 drinks before, so yeah.
Tom has to get pumped up now for a podcast.
So that's not my fault. Yeah, we met some people for a drink, and we went to a Lululemon thing with one of your clients, well, 2, Chloe, Sarah, and Hannah. We shared one of your clients as well. 2 of my clients. One of your clients. There you go. All the clients. Through but Lululemon stuff. But yeah, they were serving beer, and drinks.
Brilliant.
I mean, it was rude not to. So wonderful.
I'd rather you weren't inebriated when you're doing a podcast, but it might make for a more fun show, mate.
Been done before, so yeah, and you know that. Last time it was wine, so it's not too bad.
Can we just have a moment's peace and silence for Kobe Bryant, by the way?
I mean, yeah, gee, wow.
What the fuck?
I mean, was your first reaction like, what the fuck? And obviously we both said before the show, we were convinced it was fake, and fuck ever going on a helicopter.
Well, no, that was straight away what I thought. I was like, no, helicopters, no.
Like, especially after, what's the lad the Leicester City guy?
Leicester City chairman, yeah.
Yeah, the chairman who, it took off from the centre circle of the ground, right, and then crashed in the car park.
I feel like with helicopters though, as well, like unlike planes, like there's just nothing around you. Like whereas planes got a bit more sturdy, like outer shell.
So yeah, one of my clients was talking about it. So he's an accountant for a helicopter kind of firm.
Is he an accountant, or are you just saying an accountant just to take the piss?
He's actually an accountant.
Yeah,
but I know how much you aspire to be one. But he's ridden them before, and he just doesn't. He tells his clients actively not to go in them because he's like, there's no way out. Like if the engine goes, you're dead. The propellers are there, and you're like, you can't jump out because the propellers are there. It's like you can't just parachute. Yeah. Whereas he was like, at least with a plane, you can kind of glide it in for a crash landing, or it's going vaguely that way.
Yeah, I feel like you could.
You could get away with it. Obviously, you probably can't. But
and also feel like with the 2 propellers, if one of them goes wrong, like the back one goes wrong as well, like you can't go anywhere.
One goes wrong, you're fucked. Like screwed.
So I was shocked. I'm not I don't know Kobe Bryant personally, so I'm not I'm devastated. You know, like people, they say I'm devastated.
It's just a world leader of basketball. They're a guy that was immensely, I don't know, influential in his sport, right? So, yeah.
I'm still very young as well, I suppose, in that sense. Yeah, sad. It's just sad, it is sad. But yeah, anyway.
I mean, he may have done some bad stuff.
All right, let's not lower the tone. Yeah.
But yeah, never seen him play. But unfortunately, Daniel, what's been going on in your world? Have you announced your new coach yet?
Not yet. No, next Wednesday. That is.
I shouldn't do it right now.
Probably not. You don't know who it is, so
yeah. Oh, I'm joking.
You don't know who it is. Someone did say the other day. They messaged me on Instagram. They're like, "Is it Stephen Box?" And we were like, no.
Could you imagine?
I was just like, we had some weird people say, "Oh, I bet it's this person, I bet it's that person." And I was just like, no. So we'll be announcing that coach on Wednesday via video. It'll be a YouTube video.
You're
obviously
coaching.
Reveal.
He's doing Warhammer and stuff, isn't he?
No idea.
No idea. Oh yeah, you wouldn't be able to see. So that's fine.
So we went to see them, which was great. We went bowling, and they were quite surprised at how well I can bowl.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right, aren't you? Yeah.
I can bowl. Mike was
Oh,
like, if you used to do this when you were a kid, I was like, no, like I just bowled a few times.
yeah.
I've bowled a normal amount of times a normal person would have bowled in their life. Like it's nothing like extraordinary. I was like, I just find it quite a simple thing to do. Like you just throw it in a straight line.
We can get when next time I'm down in Bath, we're gonna go bowling.
Yeah, let's go bowling. Like, I got like 144 and then 150 odd in the second game. And then Mike was like, oh, what do the pros get? And I was like, well, like, I don't know. So we Googled it, like 240 or something stupid. I was like, I'm not that good. I was like, fuck hell. Like, you're just awful. Like, so yeah, no, we did have a bit of fun. So yeah, you'll see that video next Wednesday. Other than that, not a lot's been going on, mate. You know, just working hard. Got more people joining the waiting list, so I've had to speak to them and sort of, you know, like obviously a few people hopefully will be taken on by the new coach. So yeah, no, everything's all good, mate. It's just been a easy as you go month, really. Lots of stuff in the pipeline, you know.
Easy always work month. Jesus.
Well, no, because everyone says to me as well. I see this all the time. I've had a few people this month who I've met for the first time. They're like, "Well, so what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a nutritionist." They're like, "Oh, you must be really busy
where
this time
have you
of year."
been going? Like some sort of date night?
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. No, we met. Who did I meet? We met. We send in Frankie to doggy daycare once a week so he can socialise with all the other little doggies. So I met the woman who runs that, and she asked that question, and then.
It's a great way to meet new people, Dan. It's good.
Well,
it's good. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Right? Yeah. Anyways, but like people say to me, it's like, "Oh, you must be busy this time of year." I was like, "No, not really. I'm full, so I haven't had any new clients this month, really." Like, you know, people just assume that like you get loads of people in January. I was like, I'd also probably actively not want to work with someone in January just because they want to work with me in January because I was like, they're just going to be in it for like 2 weeks, so don't worry about it. So yeah, no, nothing crazy been going on, mate. Just pretty normal, really. Other than January feels like it's lasted forever.
It's a long month, isn't it?
I think it's because when you get to like 27th of December, you're just thinking, right, Christmas is done. So it's like the next thing and it's the next year, innit? But cricket nets start next week. So that's fun, innit? That's always fun. And then what else was I going to say? There's something else I was going to say. Oh yeah, you know, the other week we talked about how we never really coached each other, and I was like, yeah, now Tom can write me a plyometric program because plyometrics are not my strength. So and I want to be able to dunk by the time I'm 35. So if we can work on that.
What did you do? Just sit there and went box jump?
I think what I do is I get the box as high as possible and land in like a squat.
Just get up there somehow.
Yeah, that's a plyo, isn't it?
Put ladder. That'll be right.
Yeah, no, I was. Obviously, I talked about it a bit last week, I think, but I think I posted about it on Instagram and about how much I was enjoying basketball and stuff, and I realised I need to start taking my training a bit more seriously for it. Over
100%, mate. That's exactly what I did for probably the last of all the power development stuff. Even though it looks just like I'm throwing barbells around or doing these rotational or the plyo stuff. Actually, my golf stuff, I have probably added an extra club length onto my length of my golf, like drives or my power. So that's what it had been geared towards, just in case anybody would have realised. Wanted to be longer in golf. So all good, and it has. It works.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it gives you training and focus, like beyond like just wanting to look better or be bigger and stuff. Like for me, I know I'm not ever going to be massive because I can't be bothered with the amount of effort that the training and the eating and all that. So I'm just not going to be on it that much. It doesn't interest me, and I'm lean enough to be happy. I'm quite happy with it. So now it's like, well, for me, I was like, actually, I'd love to be able to turn up the next basketball season and people go, "Fucking hell, what happened to you?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I can jump now, bitch. Like white men can jump." So I just think it gives more purpose to your training. Even, like again, when you're rushed or when you're planning your week, you kind of think a bit more about it. Like, actually, I will bump up the list of priorities rather than leave it down the bottom. So so that happened this week. I was kind of had that go on. So that's exciting. That's it, really, mate. I think other than finding shit on Instagram.
That's what we're going to talk about today, anyway.
Yeah, ridiculous.
To be honest,
just ridiculous. The amount of people just making broad generalizations, like sweeping.
So what have we got? We've got three that we're going to go through. Right, one we completely agree on. I think both of us, the statement and the sentiment. One that we're both surprised because we both like the person. We've probably used this stuff. It's a bit of a clickbaity title and don't really understand why he said it. And then your one is just stupid.
That's me.
That's who Dan follows. So yeah, where are we gonna go first? Are we
Let's start with the clickbait one, I reckon.
The clickbait one. So this is, I mean, we can shout out. He's massive compared to us. So Mike Robertson, right? And from Robertson's Training Systems in Indianapolis, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that's correct. Where have we got it? So straight up, just the title. Obviously, it was clickbait, and he got loads of like props for like, yeah, bro, what a great post. I'm like, all right, mate, Jesus Christ. And it just says hip thrusts are not a main lift.
But then the caption was just like nothing, was it? It was just like,
yeah, the caption was just keeping it 100 over here. ...
Now the thing I don't like about that one is it's like.
So this guy, like Mike Robertson's a well-respected like S&C coach.
Mm. And he can be, and he can still be making that statement if he backs it up with some sort of rationale. But you can't just say it without any rationale. And like as soon as you said that to me, I said this probably the same exact thing you thought of, which is like for who? Like for some people it can be like if you've been highlighted as your main issue you need to work on is explosive hip power potentially, for example, then it might be a main lift. If it's that you want to grow your glutes, it might be a main lift. Like, there's no way that you can say it's not a main lift. Like, it's one of them. Like, I think
if you listed, like, if we sat here and listed, if we went like a top 10 of lifts, a barbell hip thrust, like a heavy fucking hard barbell, I would think would probably be in my top 6.
Yeah, bang for your buck. Heavy movements, it's up there. Like, without a doubt, it's up there.
Like for lower chain stuff, like you're going, some sort of squat.
And for the areas that most people are weak on, by the way, most people are weak glutes or weak thrust. And it's one of those where I sort of read it and I was like, there's a case to be made that bicep curls can be a main lift for someone.
That's exactly what I said.
Because it's like if you argued it well enough, it is. Because if you have a bodybuilder, right, you have someone, let's say Phil Heath, Mr. Olympia, and the judges turn around and go, you need to get your arms bigger. Your arms are too small. Everything else is fine. I was like, so for that training block, for him, arms, biceps are a main lift. Any of them.
What? Hammer curl, straight in. What is the heaviest thing I can curl? Therefore, I'm going to go strength to hypertrophy.
Exactly.
So like 5x5s on hammer curls. Cool, let's do it.
The whole word main lift, main, is totally person dependent. Totally, 100% person dependent. Because some people will reorder their training program based on what they need to have as their main lift because of when they're freshest, what they need to focus on more. So to say it's just a ridiculous statement. I agree with him to an extent that you're not potentially going to. There's never going to be any sports potentially out of how much can you hip thrust, whereas there are for squat, deadlift, and bench. It's a sport. You could argue that those 3 are main lifts for that sport because you can get judged on them in the Olympics or whatever. But I just think it's a ridiculous thing to say, and I think it's come about because actually reading on Facebook, Lyle McDonald's just posted something, so that always goes down well whenever he posts something. But he's just posted something along, and it said he just posted about a study, and it says that basically there's a new study come out which basically has said that the hip thrusts are not better than squats as a superior glute exercise. And I was like, that's fine. They might not be a better exercise, but they're probably as good as. Like, and again, it's dependent on so many factors.
It's just even if they're not, like, for training variability and sheer fucking boredom, if you said to someone, like, all right, sorry, well, they're not as good as squats, though, so therefore you have to squat for the rest of your life, you're never allowed to hip thrust again because
put
they're
all
not
that
good.
Weight on your back.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. No, for even for psychologically, I'd rather do 2 of the lifts than just 1 for the rest of my life. If I can have that, like, I get to do these today instead of these. Yeah. What? It's like, no, you have to do these because these are the most optimal. When has that been the case? If that was the case of everything, no, we have to do everything because it's the most optimal thing to do. No. Have you met people? Like, we go the like adventurous route or the scenic route. It's not A to B, right? So it's incredibly strange. It has to be completely personal. So that, I mean, if people don't understand what the main lift would be, say through your little warm up, you roll in, whatever, then you prep, and then you're gonna hit like, this is the basis of my session. This is the basis of my day. This is how all my supplementary kind of. So your A1 or your 1A movement is your main lift. That is what your whole focus is about. You're gonna nail it. It's probably gonna be a strength lift. from the ranges of 1 to 6, more than likely. Or if you're a power athlete, it'll be your B lift, because you've been doing your power plyo stuff before, and it'll be your B1. That's the only thing.
But where does he sit on that then? So are cleans a main lift? Are snatches a main lift? Because for a certain percentage of people they are, but for me they wouldn't be. Fuck would they be?
No, they're definitely not for me as well. Even though I might say today.
But they're still a main lift. I would categorise them as a main.
Oh, they definitely would be, but they weren't my main lift today.
It's just weird. It's just weird.
It's just a silly thing to say. I think so. I love the fact that you've gone through. He's got like 110 comments so far, but it's just the way he hasn't explained it. It's just considering he's a decently credible guy and he runs a good business. So he runs like for soccer and NFL and basketball, kind of off-season stuff. A lot like Boyle or those guys out there. I know Bobby Smith, all these guys like Rip Gym, New Jersey, that kind of stuff. They run like off-season camps and like high school athletes and all this stuff, but all of them are like, can you explain? Can you explain? Can you explain? And then line goes like, name a better main lift for building an ass. It was like, and it's like, except when you put it as a main lift. Yeah. If it was someone who has a 650 pound for reps, I disagree. Yeah, very incredibly strange.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, but he's also gone in the comments and replied to a couple of people, but only the ones that have gone, yeah, awesome, man. So you've been reading my stuff. What? Just add a little caption. I'm hoping he will back it up somehow. But obviously Brett Contreras has been tagged a million times in this already.
Of course he has, yeah. Brett Contreras and he doesn't give a fuck, basically.
Yeah, he'll be like, well, you can have his opinion. It's absolutely fine if that's your opinion, but it's leading down the wrong line. Not everybody is, because he comes from a particularly S&C background, and the only way I can think this is I'm gonna probably say that maybe, I don't know, Mike Boyle might not agree, but it's that kind of facility or that kind of sports orientated person that they will always argue that the main lift should be a sport-specific movement or sports-orientated movement, and possibly done in a unilateral exercise, because no sport is ever bilateral, which we can kind of agree on. It's always weight shifting. There's never ever equal power. If you're then a turn, sprint, bounce, jump, all this kind of stuff, it's usually, nearly 100% of the time, is going to be unilateral. So therefore, it should be unilateral when you got like the split squats and all this kind of stuff. That's why don't get a lot of people back squatting anymore in like athlete-based stuff. You still get them deadlifting, but they end up with beast dancing and stuff like that. But whether it's their main lift, I don't really know.
Is that a main lift? I don't know.
Is it a main lift? So it's just a barbaric statement, and it just a little bit closed-minded. If it is exactly what he thinks, you won't catch. You're always going to get. It should be depends. Always should be depends on go. Depends on athlete, depends on goal.
It does depend. It does depend a lot of the time. But I would, again, I put in, I keep saying that word. Fucking hell, again. I keep saying again. Really annoying. I'm going to stop doing that. Is that I would suggest that if something if something is true for more than 50% of the population, I would suggest you don't have to say it depends. And I think the hip thrust for more than 50% of people would be a main lift. For the majority of people, if people are walking in the gym, 100 people walking in the gym tomorrow, I would probably let 50% of them at some point categorize a hip thrust as a main lift for their programming. Probably. Like it's just one of those things where it's not. It depends. Would be is a snatch a main lift? Well, it does depend, because actually maybe 15% of people might only ever want to do that, and for them it would be. It just seems like a stupid thing to say, but
especially if it was like,
he obviously doesn't like Brett Contreras or that study or whatever it is. Something's obviously there with it, like he wants to make a point.
Well, he's a massive like trap bar deadlift guy, isn't he? As they all are. Which I am as well, but doesn't matter. He'll front squat and like trap bar deadlift all the time. But yeah, interesting.
Maybe he doesn't like the glutes. Maybe he doesn't like them then.
Doesn't like glutes. Doesn't have any.
Front squat. It's not gonna. You know what I mean?
Still glute dominant though. Physics. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a main lift. Front squat's not a main lift.
Nah, it's a compartment of a clean, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah.
Just part of a clean. All right, moving on.
Anyway, so my one was.
Your one. So we'll go. Yeah, training, diet, training.
So my one was Dr. Mark Hyman. He's a fucking moron. He's one of these functional medicine nutrition.
Oh, one of those functional medicine.
Yeah.
Because there's always, if we've always said, if there's functional movement or functional training, there's always dysfunction.
That is dysfunctional medicine, apparently.
Dysfunctional medicine.
The thing I love about this is it's
diseases.
It's of course a picture of. So there's a picture of a coal plant, a coal like factory, where it's got like massive chimneys, loads of smoke coming out of it, and then next to that picture is the picture of a woman hand picking fruit and vegetables from her garden, right? So two quite extreme ends of the spectrum there. And the quote says, "If it was grown on a plant, not made in a plant, then you can keep it in your kitchen." And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I was like, a load of bullshit again. So that's someone else's quote, apparently. So Dr. Mark Hyman has elaborated on it, and I just had a real issue with the first paragraph. I had to share it, and I ranted about it, and I'll probably release it on IGTV at some point in the next week. But yeah, ridiculous. So Dr. Mark Hyman, if it came from the earth or a farmer's field, not a food chemist's lab, it's safe to eat. There are definitely some mushrooms that if you eat them will kill you, and they grow in the earth. So he made himself look silly there. And this is the next one as well that I then went off on one because of this. If it is something your great-grandmother wouldn't recognise as food, throw it out. I don't think my great-grandmother would know what almond milk is, or oat milk, or rice milk, or nut butter. I'm pretty sure. And they're foods that I reckon vegans probably eat. So made himself look stupid again.
It doesn't even be a great-grandma, just your mum.
That's a ridiculous thing to say. My great-grandmother wouldn't recognise loads of things as food. Loads of things. And the whole element of processing food actually makes some food safer for us to eat. It like prolongs their shelf life. It kills bacteria that could kill us. Like that whole thing around processing food and like, oh, if it's gone into a plant, you shouldn't eat it. Oh, hang on a minute. Almond milk goes through a factory. Almonds don't have nipples that you fucking like. Again, oat milk. Who the fuck thought of that? Like ridiculous thing. And it doesn't just like flow in streams. It's made in a factory, in a plant, as they call it, and it's this whole scaremongering of like, oh, if it's made in a lab or in a plant or a factory, don't eat it. Hang on a minute. Donuts are made from flour and sugar. They both grow in the earth, so they're all right.
But it's been through a process, mate. So it's been processed to make a donut. So therefore, you're done.
Everyone in the comments is getting mad because they're like, oh, you forgot to mention don't eat gluten because he doesn't eat gluten, does he? That's grown on the earth. So made himself look like an idiot. Like, how about if we baked it from scratch like sourdough bread? You can buy sourdough bread from a fucking factory. So ridiculous comment. Just ridiculous things. Ridiculous things to say. Yeah, thoughts on red lentil or black bean pasta? Well, and it says in moderation ? Well, exactly. To make red lentil pasta, it's processed, isn't it? Idiot.
Nobody's ever been asked that question. What do you think of red lentil pasta? Great, mate.
Yeah, it's like there's a comment here. I really struggle with this with packing my school lunches for my kids. I end up including rice crackers, but they're definitely made in a plant. Yes, they are. That's right, and there's nothing bad about them. Don't worry. So it's one of those things where it's like you look fucking stupid by saying.
There's 4 kids. So we were having this discussion the other day of what was in your. It's interesting subject. This slight tangent. What was in your lunchbox as a child?
Sandwich, crisps, piece of fruit, bit of chocolate, maybe chocolate bar.
What kind of? Well, talk us through it. Come on. What kind of crisp? What kind of chocolate bar? Because did you have a classic club? Were you club?
Yeah, my mum used to be. It was either a club or a penguin or a gold bar.
Ooh, yeah,
in there. They were good. And then I'd have a piece of fruit, which I'd very rarely eat, but it was usually something like a banana or an orange because I had a peel on it, because
it's going to keep it.
Mums are smart like that. And then crisps are always either like Walker's Squares, Wotsits, Quavers, McCoy's if we were lucky on a good day.
McCoy's were like you realise they were on sale. Like,
yeah. or you're a little bit older, like maybe when I got a bit older, mum was like, oh, you can have McCoys. And as an extra special treat, we used to have, I don't know if you ever used to remember, they used to have the little Pringle pots that Pringle used to sell them, the little pot, didn't they? It was a perfect size. So if you've been a good boy, had that. Yeah. And then the sandwich was always pretty plain, but my mum always, I say plain, she was good, like ham, cheese, and pickle. Was a good one. Tuna mayo.
I was a big peanut. One. I would do a lot of peanut butter. I think I was a lot of peanut butter.
Mum used to put a bit of protein in there. She knows.
My mum doesn't know what protein is. I was carbohydrate all day.
Literally a carbohydrate, were you?
Yeah, literally. Then maybe cheese strings. They were pretty. They were. No,
my mum didn't let us have that sort of stuff.
So we started to I started liking like the cheese string little wrap things or dairy Lunchables were unbelievable.
No, my mum didn't let me have them. They were made in a plant, mate. So wasn't allowed those.
They look like the most processed things in the world, and they taste incredible. They're like the little snacks. Anyone not had one? As an adult, a little bit disappointing. But
as a kid, they were the highlight of like a week. Yeah.
I think I probably had a Dairy Lunchable probably in the last. I'm gonna go 2 months. I've definitely had one.
I used to remember when we were in sixth form, going into year 11, sixth form, we were allowed off site of the school because there was like a big there was like a parade of shops there. And I remember at the time I had a paper round that paid me about, I think it was about 15 quid a week. 12 to 15. Like 12 to 15 quid a week. And then my mum used to give me a lunch allowance every day of like maybe 3 quid. So it was like 15 quid a week, I think it was. For me to eat, yeah. And then what I used to do was I used to basically spend that extra money on my lunch as well. So I used to have £6 every day, and I was like, fucking hell, I'm loaded. I was like, this is incredible. So then what I used to do is at break, at like 10 o'clock, I used to go down the local, they had a sandwich shop, and they used to do hot sausage and bacon sandwiches. So I used to have one of them around break, and then I used to have a lunch as well with some sweets and that. And I was a baller because I had a paper round, so I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. Looking back now, it's like, it's fuck all, but yeah. There you
go. I think we didn't actually have a Greggs. We had a baker's oven near us. We're at school, and you'd normally go for either like a yum yum or I'm a big.
It was a similar thing, but it was it was an independent one. So it had all the pasties and everything. It had a hot bacon, sausage, and all the cakes and stuff. But they if it wasn't for that school, that place would have closed down. Like it was just.
There was a Budgeons. Is there Budgeons anymore?
Yeah, we had a Budgeons as well.
Yeah, Budgeons and a baker's oven, which was always great. It was all filled with old people in Great Baddow. The vineyards, I'm pretty sure it was called. There was no vineyard in sight. Not too sure why it was called that, but yeah, interesting. But
yeah, basically, if you've seen those, but basically, it's that whole thing of with this, with those sorts of statements, you can. So I ranted about it on my Instagram story, and I kind of said, like,
really?
Yeah, I know, right? Once you actually think about it, and you recognise there are foods that these people would talk about and deem healthy, and all that that fall foul of those guidelines, you realise that it's just stupid and it's idiot. Like, yes, of course we should all eat more plants, all that sort of stuff. But just because something's been processed in a factory doesn't make it bad. There's lots of things that are made for us that our great grandmother wouldn't recognise: a laptop or a nice car, for example, or central heating probably for some people. Like
she wouldn't recognise phones, for example. Yeah, so take that away. Because it's been posted on Instagram, doesn't recognise Instagram. So see you later. Jog on.
So that argument it's just ridiculous. But then of course the thing that annoyed me about it was that at the end of the caption was then like, oh, buy my book. Like, of course, like the real food. I think he's called it the Real Food Fix. And I've seen some of his recipes, and it's called the Real Food Fix. Right? Let me see if I can find one quickly. He talks about it a lot. And it's this whole concept of, I suppose, like real food, and I get it, and I get what he's trying to achieve, and I get what he's trying to say, but don't sound like such a twat saying it. Yeah, here we go. Swipe left to see my orange blackberry almond scone recipe. Well, here we go, right?
Orange blackberry?
So
orange and blackberry?
Yeah, orange blackberry, isn't it?
I was about to say, I was like, orange blackberries? No.
Let's see how much of this food would have come from a factory. 2 cups of almond flour, processed from a factory. Half a cup of millet flour, processed from a factory. 2 tablespoons of coconut sugar, processed from a factory. 1 teaspoon of baking powder, processed from a factory. Half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Can you see where I'm going with this? Right, so basically all he's got in there at the moment is sea salt, which I'm going to give him that, because I reckon a bit of dehydration from the water isn't really that much processing, but that is going to, again, be processed through.
But also, I come from the place where pretty much all the sea salt has come from, right? Malden sea salt, everybody knows where it comes from. And guess what? I know where the factory is.
There you go. That's the factory.
Yeah.
Even coconut oil, again. I said again, 3 times. Coconut oil from a factory, processed. The only things that aren't are the eggs, the 3 oranges, and the three-quarter cup of blackberries. Because even a vanilla extract, to a degree, is going to come from a factory. So I just think it's a bit weird to say that, because you do it, and then he just sort of says, "Look, buy my cookbook, food the cookbook." Annoys me. Just annoys me.
Vaguely hypocritical, isn't he?
Yeah.
Bless him.
Yeah, it's just annoying, mate.
What was his main point of the post?
You should be able to recognise the food you eat. It should come from the earth, and I get that.
Because of what? Because of what? What's it going to do if you don't?
He made it sound as if that there's a food chemist making food. So he said the food chemist lab. It shouldn't be thought of in a food chemist lab. And it's, well, donuts aren't in a lab, mate. It's just donuts. You can make them at home. It's just
in a bakery.
It's just done in a factory to just systemize the process. There's nothing crazy about it. I think he probably means more like the E numbers and all that sort of stuff. But just say that then.
That's just science, because we want to categorize stuff.
Yeah, we're smart.
And we understand what's in it. And therefore, instead of saying strawberry, banana, everything, it's actually got the certain chemicals that are in it. Just like there's stuff inside us, right? Iron, calcium, all this kind of crap. Yeah, quite interesting. What a moron.
Just an idiot. But you can go, but I've gone back there, 15 posts, and found something that contradicts what he just said. It's like me saying, "Oh, idiots that have loads of discount codes and they give them out to all their followers," and yeah. And then I had one and was like, "Yeah, use my discount code." Like, it doesn't work.
I love those. We get contacted a few times, don't we, about discounts or discount codes. Yeah, you can be an advocate for our product. Cool. I don't use your product, so it's probably not. Quite strange. What product? That's interesting. What product would you endorse? What's a product you use a lot and you'd like to?
Fanta Grape.
Fanta and Coke. There you go.
I would love. I think the best endorsement would probably be Monster Energy Ultra.
Really?
I'd give out a discount code for that, because it's a good product and I use it all the time. Like, I'd happily do that, because I'm not making any claims that it's going to like improve someone's life by a million percent. I don't even mind the clothing ones, because it's clothing. Like, if you're going to buy it anyway, buy it. It's the supplements and the faddy shit like that I hate, because it doesn't do anything. And these people go on about it like it does.
I'm trying to think what I have on a daily basis. I eat a lot of plums. That's a bit weird. The Califia coffee now.
That coffee is very good.
It's good, isn't it?
Did I tell you what I thought about the price of it? I had a bit of a. I was nearly didn't buy it, because I was like.
Because where did you buy it from? Sainsbury's.
I was in the little Sainsbury's near the gym.
So Sainsbury's, it is expensive in Sainsbury's, but it is cheaper on Ocado and in Tesco.
Yeah, so it wasn't really the cheapness that bothered me. It was more the fact that I went in Sainsbury's and it said it was £3, and I was like, wow, that's expensive. And then I thought to myself,
but it's a 750ml thing.
Yeah, 750ml, and I was like, hang on a minute, I go into Starbucks and order a shitty coffee at £3.50 and think nothing of it. I was like, but this is like
three cups.
Yeah, 3 drinks worth. So I was like, it's just weird how your brain works in different places. Yeah. I just thought to myself, hang on a minute, this is just cold brew coffee with a bit of milk in and sugar. I'm paying £3 for it. But yeah, I'd go to Starbucks and someone would go, yeah, it's a £3 coffee. I'd be like, no problem, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Bam.
It's just fun, that whole cost thing and how much things cost is relative to loads of different things. And just in a supermarket, you don't associate £3 for that. And innocent smoothie is the same thing. If you go in an innocent smoothie litre would be £3.75, £4. You go, fuck yeah, that's expensive. Go to a juice bar, £4 for a small cup. You're like, yeah, it's fine. It's just weird how people's perceptions of things. I do it with we did it the other day. We were looking at energy drinks. Me and Mike were talking about them, and we did a review of the 3D energy drinks from America, and he managed to get hold of some from a gym, And we looked online how much it would cost to buy a crate of them, and it was like 30 quid for 12. And we were like, oh, that's a bit expensive, isn't it? 30 quid for 12 of them. And everyone was like, how much did you pay for that in the gym? He was like, £2.50. I was like, same. I was like, totally, it's the same. It's just weird how
you do that with like when I used to buy like Knockos by the crate as well, because you do the same thing. But I quite happily just like, yeah, £2.50, £3 for a Knocko. It's fine. It's like, hang on, if I buy them separately, it's like £2 for in a crate. Like, why am I not doing this? Oh, but this one's chilled. You could chill it yourself, mate. All right. Stupid. All right, yeah. And the same with protein bars as well, isn't it? You end up buying like a pack of protein bars, only comes out at like £1-2. Yeah. But the Califia thing is because that exactly happened with one of my other friends as well. He was like, "Yeah, it's a bit expensive, isn't it? It tastes great." And I was like, "Number one, you bought it from Sainsbury's, so it is a little bit more expensive. Number two, it's not though, is it?
It's not though, is it? When you think about it, it's not though.
Exactly the same. He just bought me a coffee from Costa, and I was like, you just bought 2 coffees for £6."
Yeah, yeah, it's weird. It's just.
I was like, I would have happily split that thing with you for £4. Like,
yeah, it's funny how that perception thing changes, because that's what happened. And the same with the Ocado shop. I ordered it, and I was like, it's £2.50. I was like, that's good. That's better than the Sainsbury's one. I was like, what am I doing? Like, it doesn't matter. The Sainsbury's one's still good. Like, it doesn't matter. Anyway,
you could afford it, mate. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I get my allowance off you, don't I? From
all right, last one. Last post, right? The one we agree on. Woo! Shock.
I don't remember what it's on.
Menno. I can't say his surname. Menno or Henselman. Henselmans. Menno. Just call him Menno. Yeah. He does a fair few kind of meme-based posts, and they're always a little bit of a giggle. Controversial most of the time. Knows what he's doing. He did one about heart rate variability. I think we talked about this previously, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
At some point, and people were like, "Oh," because it was going to be a big thing. We might have predicted it to be a big thing at some point, I think, and it was about heart rate monitors and variability and Whoop bands and Aura rings and all this kind of crap. Also, we both have Apple Watches though, but do we use it for the heart rates?
No.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Number one, because you'd have to have 2 Apple Watches for that. One whilst you sleep, and then correlate the data and combine them. This is stupid because I still hate the Apple Watch, the fact it runs out of charge so fucking quickly.
Yeah.
They should build one that just lasts a week. That'd be great. It's never going to happen. Even the Fitbits didn't really do that, did they? So.
No.
Not good. But yeah, so his post was looking at your heart rate variability is about as accurate as looking at your horoscope to see if it's time to squat. What does that mean, Dan?
It's what I do, to be fair. I do that. I do look at my horoscope. Every time it's the month of my horoscope, I would consider doing a leg day. Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredibly true.
So basically, heart rate variability is just a crock of shit, really. Like,
so I think it opens with heart rate variability. It's a neat concept. I love the idea. You get a cool device. It beeps with flashing lights. It makes you feel like James Bond and cues latest tech gadget. Rather than going by feel, you can trust an objective data to determine your recovery status. It could say anything, right?
Yeah.
We could be the other side of that wall, right, and just typing bullshit to people, and they'd probably believe it.
Yeah.
It's the case. It could be some sort of weird AI. It could be a Magic 8 Ball like app, and it will tell you, "Nah, you suck today," and you're like, "Oh, I can't do that."
Should we explain what heart rate variability is?
Just whimsically, just go over it.
Well, because otherwise people won't know. But basically, the theory behind heart rate variability is the differences in between your heartbeats. So it's not necessarily like how many beats a minute from 1 minute to the next.
I think the misconstruction is that it's just heart rate, and it's just one that goes up and down throughout the day.
It's basically the differences between each, I suppose, spike of each. You know, like the different. You know, if you look, obviously listen to this in your head, think and imagine what a heart rate looks like on a screen, right?
So and it's. I think you're trying to say systolic and diastolic.
Not necessarily. No.
No,
because you have like atrial contraction, ventricular contraction, and that's what the lines are on it. But basically, for those that don't know, you have basically P, R, Q, S, and T as like the points of the graph, and it basically measures the time points between each of those points. So they would measure P to P, Q to Q, etc., and also the gaps between each P, R, Q, S, whatever. And the theory being that if there's a lot of variability in between each heartbeat and the subsequent waves within that, that you are in some way stressed and shouldn't train or shouldn't do things, and they should be quite repeatable and regular. The theory is that if they're not, you shouldn't train. You're stressed. You're too stressed. Your heart's too stressed. It needs to relax a bit more. That sort of stuff. There's parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous systems, but we're not going to go into that. It's too extreme. And essentially,
and mainly those sympathetic nervous systems can probably be toned down. Ooh, hey Frankie!
Frankie's just sparked the door.
I mean,
back. Don't worry about it.
Frankie's got his work band on, so
yeah. Frankie's
variability's been going.
He is alert.
But yeah, the parasympathetic. I did a little talk in and around this last week. Around recovery systems of the FMS system, and they talk about parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, don't they? And they basically say that can be corrected by crocodile breathing and some hook lion breathing for about 5-10 minutes, and you chilled out. Kind of shuts you down, but that's what you need to do.
Yeah,
it's an emotional response. That kind of
emotional response. So sympathetic nervous system or sympathetic state is when you're in that fight or flight thing where you're kind of like stressed and you're ready to make
you probably shouldn't be training if that's the case.
And you're more parasympathetic is when you recover and you're relaxed and in a relaxed state, all that sort of stuff. So basically the theory with heart variability is that you basically have these heart monitors on, it checks your heart rate and it says today's not the day you should be training because we've noticed that your heart variability is a bit off. And then what happens is you sit there and go, well, I feel good today. I feel all right. Like, why would I not? Like, I feel great. And the biggest problem with it is that it's not accurate enough to actually tell or check anything. It doesn't really mean huge amounts at this point, and basically it's something you don't need to worry about. Yeah.
It's just
we tried it with footballers. We tried it at elite level with footballers, and we looked at the literature, we looked at everything. 'Cause it's been around for a while. It's not a new concept. It's been around for a long time.
I think the technology has become more
the reason it's become more accessible is because people wear more wearable heart rate monitors, like on their Apple Watches and their bands, their Whoop bands, their Oura rings and stuff. But we were doing this with polar heart rate monitors, like more accurate than that, polar heart rate monitors. And because the footballers are wearing them during the day anyway, so we're like, oh, why don't we just get them to keep them on when they sleep, like keep them on all day, and then we'll be able to track this information and know when they should train or not. And the literature is not. It doesn't tell you that it's useful, for one. Two, the cost to benefit ratio, even if it does provide the smallest, tiniest benefit, which again the literature shows it doesn't really. Is it worth putting the players through this so they end up hating it? It's not. And then what happens if you tell a player that they're not going to train today because they don't look like they're good, but that they feel great? How's it going to make them? If they do then train, they're going to feel like, oh, I should be shit today. Or you've told them that they're great, they're good to train, but they feel like shit, and you put them in a session, they injure themselves, you're fucked. It's that whole issue of it's annoying at that level, and they don't use it at an elite level. So why would average Joe train 3 times a week, listen to it, and go, oh, well, this is the only time in this week I can fit in my 3rd session. If I don't do it today and I feel good, I can't fit in the rest of the week. What would you do? Well, you'd fucking train. Don't listen to it. It's stupid. So it's that whole argument of the cost to benefit ratio of it is not even there anyway. But for the majority of people, it's just a ridiculous thing to worry.
It's just the premise of also for our kind of training, Dan, as well, because I'd say 90% of stuff that we would program for people with gym based is going to be some sort of weight resistance based training, correct? And we're going to be talking about muscle fibers' ability to kind of like have mechanical tension and all this kind of crap. But does your heart rate have any? It doesn't have any effect on that kind of crap. So it's not going to affect how much torque's going through the muscle. It's not going to affect how much you kind of, I don't know, activate it or anything like that. So it shouldn't really matter, theory. 100%. We started looking at. I know you've done it as well, and I think it's interesting. I might run it for a few people because I've got the access to the G flights all the time.
It just throws up some weird data that you don't. Doesn't make sense.
I just think it'll be interesting. Maybe it's just for myself. I'm gonna take every single time I'm training. For G flight data, I can get a vertical jump, I can get a counter movement jump and a drop jump or whatever, a broad jump. And it's what the premise is. If you're within like say 10% of your max jump, then you're ready to train. If you're not, then you should back off and do a recovery session, something like that. That'd be quite interesting. But I don't think it should be, because I still think you might be missing out on a perfectly good training day. That you might not be able to lift up to 10% of whatever your maximum thing, but you're still going to whatever 10% is, 10% down of your 100% is still your 100% for that day. So therefore, you're still going to get a hell of a big training effect, which is going to have a carryover. So
There's-
it's just dependent
yeah.
on that day. It's fine, and it's just like, all right, well, that's 100% of today. Therefore, my 1RM today is 190 kilos when it normally is 200 kilos, but it's still my 1RM today. So therefore, everything's backed off that intensity.
I think you're right about it. I think there's that element to it where we tried that with footballers where you got them to do explosive jumps and you tested out that compared to their rep max that were tested in pre-season, and you regularly retested them after periods of long breaks and stuff.
Yeah.
And you basically found that some players cottoned onto it and were like, I don't fancy training today, so I'm not going to try. And they didn't try.
Some trainers are smarter than the average bear.
And it's one of those things where if you did it yourself, like if Tom was doing it, he wouldn't do that, obviously, which is great. But yeah. But I think the degree to which heart rate variability is trying to detect these things is so tiny. Whereas actually, if you were that stressed and that under recovered, your resting heart rate would be higher naturally anyway, and you'd know just from that data alone that if you would know you probably shouldn't train, you needed a bit extra day to recover, your muscle soreness, things like that, other markers would be far more reliable. So which with the heart rate variability, if it would pick up something to that level where you're like, right, I can't train today, if it was that bad, other things would pick it up. In my opinion, it's looking for something that's not there. It's looking for an issue that's not there. If you feel great, your head's in the game, you wake up feeling great, you're going to listen to this thing that's saying, oh, by the way, just let you know your heart rate just looks like it might just be a little bit different to the one before that. Well, probably just going to train anyway. And I wouldn't put any thought into it. And I understand that the work I know some people do where they try and get people to completely relax after training. You need to be in a parasympathetic state, and all these things are great. And basically, all you can do is try and relax. Essentially, in that, and there's all these things people I see all the time. It's like, I'm going to do this hack, or I'm going to make sure I do this as quickly as possible. It's like all they're basically saying is I'm going to rest and recover as quickly as possible, remove all stresses or as many stresses as possible from my day. There's not really much more to it. There's no hacks. There's no like supplements that you can particularly go crazy on. They might have a tiny effect. It is literally a case of once you've trained and once you've done that stressful thing, chill the fuck out to recover best. It's as simple as that, really. Like eat and then eat some food. Eat some food when you're relaxed. Stress,
nap.
Sleep. It's all pretty simple stuff. It's just come around again and made sound clever because of all this information. But ultimately, it's the same things that we would tell our clients. We just don't use all those things because our clients' adherence levels aren't at that point where they would wear that sort of stuff all day, every day, and look at the data and actually it mean that much. And like you said, is the cost to benefit ratio there from a point of view of, are you going to get this session in? Have you had a stressful day at work? Would you rather get the session in, or would you rather just sack off training for a week because you've had a bad week at work? Most people probably.
And you kind of like sacking off the endorphin response as well. That you might feel way better after just doing the session.
And that's where, even as a trainer, you're doing that with your clients anyway. I remember weeks that I had clients, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, I had the worst week at work," and I'm like, "Probably not the days to go for 3-rep max squat. Then let's do 8 reps instead. Let's do something a bit different." And that's where, as a trainer, you need
goblet squats and curls. All right, let's do that.
You need the ability to kind of think on your feet and adapt the program based on how that person's feeling. You don't need a HRV readiness score in that morning to tell you what you want it to tell you. It doesn't matter,
mate. You don't need your HRV to recognise your MRV.
MEV, you mean? Do you mean MEV? Or do you mean MRV?
MRV?
Or MMV? Maximum minimum volume?
I thought my maximal or minimum recoverable volume. No?
Minimal recoverable or maximal? Which one's MRV? Which one's MRV? They're both MRV.
They're both MRV. Doesn't matter.
Just do 3 reps from reserve.
What, you want me to do 3 R&R, right?
3 RIR, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So many fucking acronyms. Just speak English. All right. That's why I don't like bodybuilding. Too complicated for me.
You know it, mate.
Gee, all right. Any other business?
No, the business, no. Not for me. Other than, obviously, if you want help with your nutritional training, let me know, and I can probably fit you in about April time, unfortunately. Wow. Looking a bit busy. And obviously, this time next week, we'll let you know who the new coach is. So, you might want to work with them. You never know. Yeah,
we might have some fun news, might we? Interesting, mate. No other news from me. Wonderful.
As always. Boring. See you next week.
Might be some exciting news from me, but you don't know.
You just never know, do we?
Never know, mate. Never know. All right. Yeah, we'll see you next. Wait, will you sell my line? I say that every week. You say hello, and I say goodbye. Jesus Christ. 200 episodes, he still doesn't know. All right. No? Either just gonna wait for me to do it or just stare at me, kind of.
I'm just gonna wait for you to do it, mate.
Yeah? You look like you're trying to seduce me.
No. I've done that loads of times.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.